It's no secret that there is a concerted effort to merge us, to merge our biology with technology, to merge our biology with computer chips in the brain, chemicals in the blood, RFID chips under the skin, nano-sensors in our respiratory systems and our circulatory systems, and so much more. And it's no secret that there's a movement to accomplish this merger in the near term by the year 2030, according to some experts, such as Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, who openly stated in his summary of the 2025 Davos meetings that the goal was to merge our natural world, our digital world, and our biological world together. When I speak to scientists or when I do live events, I have people ask me, Greg, what's the problem with that? Why wouldn't we want to do this? So, for example, I had a young man, I would say probably in his mid 20s maybe, who asked me at a live event when we were having this conversation, Greg, what's the problem? If I could put a computer chip in my brain that allowed me to communicate with my computer with no keyboard and no wires, essentially a Bluetooth technology, and I could play Grand Theft Auto, I don't know, 5 or whatever version it is right now, without ever touching the keyboard. Why wouldn't I want to do that? And then I have scientists, and some of them are peers who I have worked with for years that say, Greg, well, isn't this natural? Isn't it the next step in our evolution to merge us with machines so that we can do things, we can become a better version of ourselves? And my answer to that is no. It's emphatic no. No, no, no. And the reason is because when we merge our own natural biology with synthetics and artificial technology, what we're not being told is the very high price, the consequence of doing just that. The price is that we lose something within ourselves. And let me give you, this is going to give an example of a study that was released, and this is in the journal Scientific American. This was March of 2019. The title of this particular study is The Adult Brain Does Grow New Neurons After All. That's the title of the study. And the point of the study was to refute what we have all been told, most of us since we were young, is the belief previously has been that when we come into this world, we have a fixed number of brain cells, and that's it. And the choices you make as you go throughout your life, recreational drugs, every beer you drink, every glass of wine, you're going to lose brain cells because of those things. Well, now we know that the number is not fixed. That's not necessarily a reason to indulge in all of those things, but we know that we're creating new brain cells until the last breath that we take in this life. There's part of the brain called the hippocampus. We're only beginning to understand the full extent of how the hippocampus is actually producing these cells. It's a process called neurogenesis. So just as the name suggests, growing new neurological material. Some of those are brain cells, some of those are neurons. The point is that we are producing new brain cells until the last breath that we take on this planet. However, there's a catch. And the catch is this. While the brain produces those cells, if they are not engaged in a meaningful way within about a week, within about 5 to 7 days or so, those cells will atrophy and they will die. And they will atrophy and die because of the way our biology works. We function, our biology functions on a premise, and you've heard this before, it's called use it or lose it. If those brain cells are not engaged in a meaningful way, the body says, oh, well, I'm here, but I'm not being used, so you must not need me. So I am going to take myself out of the picture so that we're not wasting energy from the body that can go to other resources in the body, so that we're not wasting that ATP and oxygen and other kinds of energy. So if I'm not needed, I'll just take myself out of the picture. Well, this principle is not isolated to the human brain, use it or lose it. It applies to every system in the human body. When we replace brain function with technology, there are parts of the brain that will begin to atrophy and cease to function in an individual with the addition of those technologies, one individual. The proposals that are out there right now are in mass to replace humans, to begin inserting computer chips in the brain, for example, of all newborns by the year 2030, or RFID chips under the skin, nano sensors, either in the bloodstream or in the respiratory system, that are constantly reporting vital data outside of the body back to collectors and sensors. All these technologies are already available. So it's not a matter of, oh, they'll never develop that. They already exist and they're being used for other applications. It's not the technology, it's the problem. It's the thinking underlying the technology. And the thinking is that we need something outside of ourselves to be the best version of ourselves. And the evidence doesn't support that. In many instances, what we find is our own natural biology not only meets, but it even exceeds the capacity of the very technology we're being asked to put into our bodies. So when we begin thinking about these kinds of movements, and the movement is called the transhuman movement. Trans means beyond human, so beyond human, merging humans with this technology. Is it natural? Is it the next step in our evolution? It can't be, because we actually lose vital functions in the process of merging with the technology. We give ourselves away to that technology. It is a forced evolution. It is an artificial evolution, and we devolve rather than evolve if we are if we're embracing these things into our lives. And once again, I want to be clear. I am not against technology. I worked in the corporations. I worked with high-tech industry during the Cold War years behind the scenes as a senior computer systems designer in the defense industry, working on advanced programs and systems. I saw some of the most advanced tech, including AI, which was already around back in the 1980s in the military industrial complex. It's just now becoming available commercially, but we've had AI for a long time. And the point that I'm making is the tech is just tech until someone applies it. And the thinking underlying how it's applied is where the problems come from. So let me just give you an example. Computer chip in the brain for one individual who has given his or her life in defense of their country in a battlefield halfway across the world, come home missing arms or legs, missing limbs. What a beautiful thing to have a chip in the brain that can speak to advanced prosthetics, robotic arms and legs, that allow that individual to hold their babies in their arms and to feed themselves and to wash their own hair and brush their own teeth. I mean, who wouldn't want that? It's a beautiful thing. Those are one-off applications. The proposals are in mass. All people have computer chips in the brain. All people have the nano-sensors in the body. All people have the RFID chips for a number of reasons in their body and under their skin. This is where we get into trouble. Because if we define human by genetically, by a blueprint in the genome of the DNA, and if we define human by our capacities that we cherish, such as love, empathy, sympathy, compassion, forgiveness, the ability to heal, the ability to imagine, to innovate, to create, to share our ideas, to verbalize, to communicate. If we define our species by those parameters, we begin losing those parameters when our biology is replaced with technology for just the reason that I shared with you with the brain cells. All right, if the brain cells aren't used, they begin to atrophy and die in one individual because the feeling is they're not needed. Well, that principle applies to every system in the human body. It applies to the immune system, chemicals that mimic the way the immune system works. The immune system begins to believe it is not needed anymore because the chemicals are doing the work for them. Reproductive system works for the whole body. So this is how you lose a species. This is exactly how you lose a species. The question is, Do we love ourselves enough to embrace the deep truth of what it means to be human? Do we love ourselves enough to accept our humanness, to accept the power of our humanness? Or are we willing to give our humanness away in exchange for the speed and the efficiency of a computer chip and some artificial intelligence? That's the question that's up for us right now. It is not natural, it is not evolutionary. And those people that tell you that it is have either failed to fully understand the implications of what they're proposing, number one, or number two, they do understand and they simply don't care. And I don't know which it is. I've been in rooms with both. The reason I'm sharing this with you now is because we're at a critical crossroad. This isn't the kind of conversation that we're going to be having 10 years from now. Within 4.5 years, by the year 2030, we will have made the choices. We are either going to devolve into some form of a hybrid species where we have merged technology in our bodies, but we've lost some of our humanness in the process, or we will have awakened to the deep truth of just how sacred, and I'm going to use that word intentionally, we are a sacred form of life, given abilities that were given to no other form of life. And I have to say that we were given because the forensic DNA indicates that there was some intervention in our ancient past, 200,000 years ago, when the first of our kind emerged into this world mysteriously. There were fusions of chromosomes, there were mutations that occurred all in the same time, same window of time, maybe not on the same day, but in that same window of time that simply cannot happen in nature. They can't happen under natural conditions. Scientists know this. The National Proceedings for National Academy of Sciences, the volume Genetics, describing the fusion of chromosomes to create human chromosome number two. They do a beautiful job of describing how that fusion worked, how certain genes, after the fusion of these chromosomes happened, some genes were deleted or they were silenced, other genes were added to stabilize that fusion. That fusion is what gives us our neocortex, our mirror neurons, our ability for empathy, sympathy, compassion, love, forgiveness. Obviously, a very important fusion. And it's not the only mutation that happened. And the scientists in that report say these kinds of events are not seen in nature. They cannot happen under natural circumstances. This is where science has to stop. They're stuck because the science or the scientists are not feel that they are not equipped for the implications. Because if it can't happen in nature, it implies an intentionality. Intentionality implies that there is a purpose. And right now, our science is based upon us having no purpose. Our science is based upon random mutations and what is called Darwin's theory of evolution. The evolution that I have seen as a degree geologist in the fossil record. I mean, I believe in evolution. I've seen it for insects, I've seen it for plants, I've seen it for animals, I saw it in my field work. That theory breaks down when it comes to us because something happened to us that we have yet to account for. Now we're at this critical crossroads. We have to ask ourselves this question: are we going to try to take every iota of new evidence and force it into a pre-existing story that we're clinging to, the theory of evolution? Or are we going to allow those new discoveries to lead us to the new story that they are telling, which is, I would have to say, evolution plus? Evolution did happen, and then something else happened in addition to that. This is a question that is up for us right now. That's for the academics to figure out, for you and for me. We are going to be coerced. We're going to be indoctrinated. We're going to be shown very slick and very sexy marketing. I know it's happening, and I'm still impressed at how attractive the marketing makes it look for us to give ourselves away to the technology. We're told that we will be safer in our lives. We're told that our lives will be easier. All we have to do is give away some of our humanness to accept this technology. That's not the language they use, but that is what we're being asked to do. So when the young people say to me, Greg, what's wrong with putting a computer chip in the brain if I can communicate with my computer without using a keyboard or without using the cable. Or your young people are asking you those kinds of questions. My feeling is this is where we've failed an entire generation because no one has told these beautiful young souls just how rare, how precious, how sacred they are and their lives are. Just the contrary, they're being told that they are a flawed form of life that needs something outside of themselves to be the best version of themselves and to compete successfully in the world of business and science, that they need something outside of themselves. That something is being touted as technology. It's like the shiny prize that's being dangled, and the young people are mesmerized by AI. They're mesmerized by computer chips in longer programs. And in some of the videos and live events that I do, I'm actually sharing studies that were done, for example, by the Salk Institute in Northern California, comparing human neurons to computer chips or entire brains to microprocessors. And not only do we meet, but we exceed the capacity of those microprocessors because they are limited by the stuff they're made of. The function of those microprocessors reaches a limit. What is our limit? We don't know, because every time we think we reach the limit, we morph and we adapt to that and open up an entire new vista of possibilities, because that's what we do. That's what it means to be pure human. So when you are asked, invited, coerced, or even mandated to accept technology into your body, I'm going to invite you to think about this conversation, what it means to you. The question you have to ask yourself: do I love myself enough to accept the gift of my humanness and what it means to be human in this world, the gift of my divinity that my humanness allows? Divinity being the ability to love, to forgive, empathy, sympathy, compassion, healing of our own bodies, imagination, creativity, innovation, all functions of divinity. Do I love myself enough to accept the power of my own humanness and my divinity? The answer is not verbal. The answer is revealed through the choices that you make. So thank you for sharing a little bit of your day with me and considering this. I look forward to our next.